Good morning. Good morning. Happy Monday. Happy Monday. Um, Today is day 28 of our 30-day healing challenge. So thank you for joining in for as many of those days as you possibly can. And even if you didn't get to all of them, the commitment in spirit, the commitment to prioritizing your own personal healing. That's really what this is about. It could be any 30 days, but it's the reality that we often do what we practice. And so it's about saying that if my healing's important, do I put it as a priority on my calendar? Good morning, Kimberly. How are you feeling today? There was a little book that I came across many years ago. It's a pamphlet. You can order it on Amazon. It's about this big. It's probably about like 8 pages of this big. And it's called The Tyranny of the Urgent. And I learned about it in conjunction with zero calendaring, this idea of zero calendaring. And it was really about lining up your life with the priorities you say are important. I was in grad school, I was in seminary, and it was a class because they were teaching about balance, balance in your own life. And the way that I understood it and the way that has been meaningful to me was that the tyranny of the urgent was saying that oftentimes the things that seem urgent in life push out the things that are actually important. And it's the tyranny because the urgent stuff is loud and it blares for your attention, and sometimes the important stuff gets pushed to the side. It's not the squeaky wheel. The urgent stuff is the squeaky wheel. The important stuff is oftentimes the quiet. And I think that's kind of relevant for my morning. In my morning time, I was scrolling and I saw a guy that claims to be a pastor. Um, and it was a Mother's Day kind of message short, and it irritated me to my soul. He was saying women have basically martyred themselves, smiled when you were really wanting to cry or when you were exhausted. And he was praising that. And it just irritated me because I thought, why are we praising that? Yes, that may be how it's been. She's put everyone in front of her. Yay, this is honorable, this is noble. And I thought, why isn't making space for her to have balance and healing the noble thing? Why aren't we praising women who say no to that, to the martyrdom of that? And if women are seen as valuable, why aren't we valuing them enough to give them space and time to heal? It irritated me enough that I went to his page and started scrolling through to see what else he was saying. And every now and then it would be something I agree with, but there was a whole lot of things that were that kind of irritation. We were praising what has damaged us. And he was saying, women, they aren't angry, they aren't bitter. And I was like, yes, they are. Yes, they are. Don't you see the attitude, the behaviors? The children aren't impacted. They've done this and taken the brunt of this so that their children weren't impacted. I'm like, no, they didn't. It wasn't hidden. The animosity, the resentment, the hidden, the silent resentment and animosity is there, and it damages us. How about if we honor women in practice? It's nice to say it. Mother's Day, there's a lot of the sentiments. It's nice to say how much women are honored. But if we really do that, let's stop that. Let's give women space. He said there was no village, so they had to be the whole village. There was no one there to help them, so they had to do it all. And they're not angry. They're not bitter. That ain't the whole truth. Not the whole truth. There was a whole lot of fluff in there. And this book about the tyranny of the urgent is that message. The important stuff gets left beside. Your balance, your rest, your sanity, your peace. And so this zero calendaring says, empty your calendar. Take it all off. Sound like healing? Take it all off. And it says, now take those things in the order that you say they're a priority in your life. Self, and put those things on the calendar as your non negotiables. And then let everybody's urgency fit in around that, if it can. Put what's important in your life on purpose on your calendar. I have an appointment. It's a non negotiable appointment. What is the appointment for? Sometimes the answer is none of your business because I'm not going to tell you, I'm not sharing. But oftentimes it's an appointment with myself. It's the space I put in life so that I can give to other people. And it's non negotiable. It may look like sitting doing nothing to you, but it's important for me to have that time in my life. Therefore, my calendar reflects it. This 30-day challenge is about that for me. It's important enough. I thought, what's my most energetic time? When do I have the best energy that I could give other people? It's morning time. That's why this is not at 7 o'clock in the evening. For me, it's important enough to share this. Putting the book out is great, but I want folks to use it. I want them to use it. I want them to use it for their healing journey. Add to it. Add it as a tool to your toolbox. If you ain't got a toolbox, make a toolbox and put these tools in it. It's about prioritizing. This challenge is about challenging that within you. If you say healing is important, show me how your calendar reflects that. Do you give yourself a portion of your best energy to invest in you? Or do you wait until all the energy has been spent on all of the other things in life? And then you see if you've got any crumbs of energy left to invest in you. And I challenge, I don't think that's what these spiritual principles are saying. I think it says I'm supposed to love you in the way that I have loved myself. I'm mirroring how to love you by looking at how I'm loving myself. And if I'm not doing that, something's out of balance. If I'm loving you better than I would love me, I don't know if that's the spirit of what these spiritual principles tell us will give us the good life, the better way. So zero calendaring, that really struck a nerve with me. This work is about sustainable values. Are my values sustainable? Are they life sustaining for me? Are they life sustaining for the people that come into my orbit? Prioritizing me makes me sustainable. Prioritizing me lets me give to others with no strings attached. Or I'm cutting the strings as I get to them. Where I'm not giving love because I really need something from you. And it becomes this opportunist type of give and take that we do in our relationships, the transactional things. I need you to make me whole, make me feel whole, because sometimes it's an illusion. And we use people as our drugs of choice to avoid doing the work. So the tyranny of the urgent, it sparked me this morning on the heel of Mother's Day. Honor women by supporting a new set of values that says we want you to give, but we want you to give from a cup of wholeness, from a cup of overflowing. That's probably my morning rant. You guys are in my life early in my morning where I do my best morning ranting to myself. But this morning, what I had shared for you was another piece about, this is in Spoken Word for the Revolution, my latest project. This is a piece I wrote about the International Welcome Center. One part of the center I call the way station. And let me just tell you why I named it what I named it. When I think about the mission, the vision, about freedom, but it's freedom for a specific reason. It's why do people need to be free? Like for real, why you need to be free? Some people can't handle freedom. The freedom for me, the freedom that this work hopefully supports for others, that supports for my life, is if I were free to do those things that I feel I was created to do, to be, being Lorana and all the tentacles that come out of that, what would that life look like? One of my assignments for life is about how we fix community. Healing was part of that answer. We can't fix it if people don't get better. We the dysfunctional parts of community. How about we fix that instead of trying to fix everything else on the outside? Oh, wait, what if we fix that first? Well, then we could come together and fix the other stuff on the outside. I don't know how to fix all the environmental issues, but I know that if people who have that as their purpose and their passion did some healing, they could put their heads together now without it being the proverbial pissing contest of egos and be able to find those solutions that we sure enough need. What about the way we do business and economics and criminal justice and just life and healing? And so I said, that's what it is. Well, but what else? And I thought back. I worked as a historian because I've done a whole lot of things in my life. I worked with Reconstruction communities and documenting the history of that process on one particular Reconstruction community that's still in existence. And I realized in this work, the metaphor of the Underground Railroad was real relevant to paradigm shifting. There were people that understood that the paradigm didn't feel good to them and it wasn't good to them in a whole lot of ways. And there were some that decided that they wanted to leave that paradigm and go live a whole other paradigm even before the paradigm had crumbled. Slavery wasn't over. And someone said, but I got to go be free now. Now, before it crash and burn. It needs to crash and burn, but I need to go get my freedom now. And when I do that, it empowers me in a way. It frees up some of the energy of bondage in a way that I can go back and help some others get their freedom now too. And that metaphor speaks to what I hope this work is, that it becomes, that it grows into, is that what am I doing? I want to help people get freedom. Freedom from what? The bondage we're living in. It's a different kind of slavery. This is the kind of slavery that we pay for, we volunteer for in many cases, if we really want to get honest. And so I said, but what are we bound by? We don't have boundaries anymore like we used to. The whole world is available. When I retired, with adult children and no responsibilities, I said I could be anywhere in the whole wide world. And I mean that literally. Anywhere that my pockets can take me. I could be anywhere in the whole world. My freedom isn't bound to just South Carolina, where I retired from at the time. It's not bound to the United States. I could be anywhere. Where would I need to be to support the kind of freedom that I want? One of those things I want to retire now. I was 49. I want to retire now. I want to not have to chase dollars again. Not that money is important, but I don't want that to be the motivator behind the things I do. That I'm doing it just because I'm chasing these dollars. I want to be able to do what I'm called to do, but I also want to do only the things I'm called to do. The things I feel passionate about doing. And so it's out of that train of thought, that rabbit trail, that the International Welcome Center was birthed. It was, if you're going to freedom, shouldn't there be a welcome center? You go from state to state and cross that state line, and there's a welcome center that says, welcome to our state. Let me give you some information about our state. Here's a map for our state. So in case you want to move around in our state, here's a map to help you get there. But let me give you some brochures about things you can do to experience our state. Welcome. Back in the day, I don't know if it do it anymore. Back in the day, they sometimes have some juice for you, a little snacky poo, some coupons. Go here and they give you a free this if you go experience this. And here's some of our wonderful orange juice or something. Welcome. Welcome. You need to refresh yourself. There's some bathrooms and some refreshments there to refresh yourself because we want you to get all the goodness out of our state. And I said, that's what this place is for me. This is the International Welcome Center. This says if you are building a life into the new paradigm, welcome. But it does it with perhaps grandmotherly love that says, but baby, you need some rest, maybe a nap and a snack. And if you're going to maneuver in this paradigm, you need different tools. The tools you have in your toolbox, some of them are good, but a lot of them is what kept you in bondage on them hamster wheels. The values, the expectations, the social expectations, the unspoken social contracts that we kept. Some of those are the things that you paid for and they're keeping you in bondage. The things you spend your money on instead of freedom that then become the burden. Not that those things in and of themselves are bad, but if they keep you in bondage, they might be, if freedom is what you want. And I decided I would call this place the International Welcome Center by the river, the Tommy Bumper River. And that part of the space will be the first way station. The way stations in the Underground Railroad were the places where, as they were on the journey, but in the beginning of the journey, it was as you're on the journey, there's places that if you had a place to stop and refresh, hide yourself away, get rested, get refreshed, pick up some new provisions for the rest of the journey or the next leg of the journey. There would be those places, people of all kinds, people from different backgrounds that supported the mission of your freedom. They may have had greater freedom than you, and they were able to provide a place so that as they would come, they'd have a safe place, safe from the danger that was trying to pull them back away from freedom. What if people on their way to this kind of freedom in this new paradigm had way stations? And so part of the space where there's a host is one of the models of housing that's a part of this system of community development and redesign is the way station. There's someone to greet you when you get here. There's someone that's leaving the light on for you, to hold space for you. And in the guest house, that sometimes you're able to stay on your own. You may not need as much hosting or protection from the outside, those things that may pull you back away from that quest of freedom. And so the way station and the guest house are models that are a part of our housing matrix. And so I wrote this piece about what that means for me. And it's called The Way Station, the first step on the Global Underground Railroad. And so I'll share that with you this morning, and we'll go quickly over the last step, because I wanted this week, at least in our leaving, to make sure that you've got as much information on doing the work of healing. So this piece is called The Way Station. Welcome. You made it here because your spirit knew what your body was just starting to remember. You're not crazy, not broken. You're just early. And you've been carrying too much for too long without a place to set it down. So this is that place. Welcome to the first way station, the first guest house on the Global Underground Railroad. Built before the collapse, so we wouldn't have to rebuild from rubble. This is the International Welcome Center where shifters gather, where pioneers recharge, where the ones crossing the bridge can sit for a spell and breathe. Here, we believe in porch light theology. We leave the light on for the weary and for the watchful, for the ones who've been building in silence. This is a place to recover your rhythm, to remember your why, to be met without explanation. Because let's be honest, this shift we're living through, it's not light work. It's legacy work. It's labor of love work. It's healed so deep you change your whole lens work. And you can't do that on fumes. So we created a space where you don't have to perform, where healing is not optional, it's expected, where being real is the only requirement for entry. No titles, no auditions, no need to explain why the old world never made sense to you. We know, we felt it too. This is the pause between exile and embodiment, the porch swing between paradigms. When the elders said, sit a spell, they meant this. When the prophet said, come out from among them, they meant now. This is not the destination, it's the recalibration. You come here to sit down, to lay down the armor, and pick up the assignment with fresh hands. You come here to be reminded that you're not alone, that the vision was real, that the storm wasn't your imagination. You came here to rest, not as retreat, but as revolution. Because when shifters rest on purpose, they rebuild the world without martyring themselves. That's balance, that's strategy, that's sustainability. So stay a while, light the sage, exhale the lies, remember who you are. And when you're ready to rise, we'll rise with you. Welcome to our house, our home, and yes, we'll leave the light on for you. So that's my piece called The Way Station. All right, who's here this morning? Good morning. How are you feeling? Kimberly is feeling grateful and proud. Good morning, Mayor. Good morning, mentally magnificent, feeling loved. Wonderful. Good morning, Kimberly. Good morning, Jackie. Thanks, Mayor. Continue to have access to the videos rewatch beyond 30 days. Yeah, if you can find them, they're on. Let's see, let me tell you how I find them. The videos are when I go to my page and I'm usually logged in, there's a tab for videos, but then there's a tab for lives. So it moves the videos out of live. I mean, it puts the live videos in a separate place than like the regular videos. So that's where that's where they are now. I probably will do like a playlist or something maybe and drop them all in there so there'll be one thing that shows under the playlist thing. But yeah, they're up there. They're up there. Partly because I don't know, it's too much effort to try to put them somewhere else. So they'll be there. You'll be able to jump in. Jackie's feeling excited, happy, excited, encouraged. Feeling I want to encourage others. What's the word for that? Feeling that you want to encourage others. I don't know. Maybe that's empowerment to me sometimes is about me. I don't know what the word for that is, but that feeling. Got it. I can identify with that. Capable. Mary's feeling capable, loved, grateful, inspired. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, 5B, 5, step 5A and 5B. Step 5A, we're still in fact finding. We're still processing the facts in preparation to then do the analysis. If you got a situation and you need to figure out what's going on, isn't it best to have the facts on the table first? That's what this process gives you a framework for being able to do. And what we do is we streamline the things that could traumatize you out of the process. We don't ask you what the other person was thinking. We don't ask you about their motivations. This process says, why don't we focus on the things that we know? We know from evidence-based research, we know from studies and those kinds of things that you do in this space. We know that if you focus on these things, it leads to healing. Healing of PTSD, healing of trauma, the symptoms of trauma, the behaviors of trauma, the coping behaviors. And so we're gathering the facts before we do the processing because that lets us do the best processing possible. Can you process without doing these steps? But this says if you dig down into these areas and pull this information up, it usually gives you much more clarity for analyzing what happened. And then the residual decisions that you make based on your analysis. Do I need to set some boundaries? Have I misspoken my values to myself? Am I holding values that I really don't agree with and they causing me irritation because I'm holding them? I'm doing things that then irritate my soul. It helps you to be able to have that information. 5A is the end of that process of data collection. 5A, kind of like step 3. It seems simple on the beginning, but it says now. You've already taken the behaviors. Now we're going to look at the losses. Step 2 and step 4, you're listing out your losses. What did this cost you? What is the price of this experience? What's the price? And it says take those losses and make a list. The losses from step 2, the losses from step 4, make a list and sit with that. Understand this situation, I'm checking my account of life currency, and I need to reconcile this account and see how much this experience cost me. I need to appreciate what the cost of this situation is, all of it. The things I did in alignment, the things that happened that were out of alignment, what did it cost me? And it asks you to sit with that. It asks you to do that pondering, sit a spell and ponder. Let's see, what chapter in the book is this? This is chapter 80, page 88, chapter 21, naming the losses. And it asks you to sit with it. Not in judgment. Remember, this is information. Sit with it. Sit with what this costs you. Count the cost. And then once you have spent enough time and you get to decide what enough is, it then says, now that we have laid it all out, as honest as we can be, because that's a growth process. As honest as I can be today, as deep as I can go today. Maybe today I'm on the surface, get those layers dealt with. But as deep and as honest as you can be, now it says, let me take and consider all of this. Now that I have all the facts on the table and I get in my most loving voice, what do I say to me? What's the value of this experience now for me? Because my philosophy is none of it's wasted. If this experience that cost me all of this is not going to be wasted, I better get something out of this experience. Self, what are we getting out of this experience that's got some value, that's going to add value back to my life? Because I have just counted the costs and this was expensive. Self, where are we going to get a return on the investment of this energy? I'm going to look at myself and say, I got to know myself a little bit better. There's some values I was holding on to out of habit and tradition. I don't believe that no more. I've challenged myself and that ain't true for me. That is no longer a value. Why? Because that value, every time I play that value out in my game of life, it costs me way more than I'm willing to spend. I'm going to give till I ain't got no more to give. I ain't supposed to do that. I know I'm not. No, I'm not. I don't care what kind of award they're giving out for that. I'm not doing that anymore. Why? Because I have found that is too costly for me to break myself down mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. Because once I do that, I ain't got no more to give. And it's so hard to come back from exhaustion. So hard on any level. And so part of this is about saying now. 5B is now self. Based on this, might we want to have some new boundaries set for people that violate this value? Maybe you've just realized in clarity that this value is very important to you. Truth might be very important to you. And somebody lies and it just irritates your soul. Truth is important for me. It's a value that I hold important. And maybe I've learned that when people aren't honest with me, I don't want to be in close company with them. I don't want to be irritated in that way. Or for me, in this chapter of life, my freedom, if anybody wants me to do something that could jeopardize my ability to be retired, I get I get real serious with my boundary game. I get serious with it with my projects because that's a commitment I made to myself. Freedom is important to you, being able to do what you feel called to do when you feel called to do it. You ain't got to hesitate. You ain't got to ask permission. You feel called to do something, you got the freedom with your life and your calendar to go do it. I want that kind of freedom. Some of these projects that some of them are on the shelf because they would jeopardize my freedom. You launch this project and you incur these debts. You better go get you a job to sure up being able to meet these obligations and commitments. Oh, well, then, nah, that ain't just to happen. Nope, boundary. We have two construction projects happening on two different continents. If I do it this way, it could jeopardize my freedom. Well, as much as I want these projects to move, I want them to move like lightning speed because we need solutions for truly affordable housing, places that people can go that can be healing places. I want that to happen. But my boundary says not at the risk of me having to go back into chasing some dollars just for the dollars. That ain't gonna happen. For me, it helps me set new boundaries. That's what 5B is about, self. Based on what you've learned in this last chapter, Lorana, are there some new loving boundaries you're going to set for yourself? Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Lorana, you're not going to feed 100 people today and you not eat till 9 o'clock at night. We ain't doing that no more, Lorana. Is that how you show yourself that you're loving you? How about, Lorana, we're going to love ourselves well. We're going to hydrate. We're going to drink the water. We're going to eat healthy food. Because wouldn't you do that for someone else? Haven't you done that for other people? Well, you cared about this. No, no, no. We're going to care about me also. And then if I have energy that I could invest in other people, I'm going to choose where I want to spend that energy. Sometimes those are the realizations that come out of my healing process or have come out of my healing process. I realize that in this chapter of life, I want to have the luxury on the days where I want to give 100% of my life energy to me. I want to have not only the luxury to do it, but I want to be healed enough so that I can do it with no guilt. I don't want to feel guilty about giving me what I need and a whole lot of what I want, because even my want has changed. My want is lining up with what's good for me. I want to enjoy the things that are good for me. I want to stop enjoying the things that aren't good for me. So even my wants change because of my healing. And so 5B asks you to, now that we have sat and unwoven this incident, manageable incident. You can't unravel the whole ball of yarn at one time, but you can unravel one little bit at a time. Now that we've unraveled this bit of the trauma in my life, now what? What's the value now that I can pull from this experience? And so 5B asks you to put that in whatever necessary, whatever process feels good to you. I give a suggestion, dear self, dear Lorana, dear Lorana. It's kind of like me with Amazon. When I order stuff from Amazon, I always check the gift box. Dear Lorana, I'm so sorry your computer got stolen. Here's another one. I hope it works even better for you and doesn't cause you the aggravation that that keyboard on that old one, even though it was new, was causing you. Enjoy. And I sign it, love, Lorana. So that when my packages come, it's a reminder that I'm doing this because I'm taking good care of you. I'm showing you love and care by how you live your life. And that goes all the way back to where I started this morning on the tyranny of the urgent. Does your life line up with the things you say are important? Does your calendar line up? If you say you're important, show me. Show me. Show me. Did you feed you well today? Did you make sure you got rested today? Did you make sure that you were encouraged and motivated today before you get out there and be pouring out to other people? Did you make sure you hydrated? Did you make sure that some of the investments that you're making are in you? In the book that I did recently, Meeting with Myself, is a whole book about this. Are you taking the tithe of your life symbolically, but in practical ways? Are you investing that in you? There are 24 hours out of a day. The tithe of that would be 2.4 hours. Are you investing at least that much in yourself? Financial people will tell you put 10% of your money away for you even as soon as you get it, so that you don't even notice it's gone. Are you doing that with your life? Like literally, like literally. Because it's time out for, I think, the sugar coating and the playing. 2.4 hours of your day, are you investing that in you without guilt? If not, start. If you feel guilty about doing what's good for you, start working. That's where the work needs to be. Why am I feel guilty for doing what's true, for doing what's honest, for doing what would care for me? Do I really believe that I am important and worthy enough to be cared for? Do I want other people to do that for me? Something that I'm not willing to do for myself. Am I willing to invest in me before I worry about whether somebody else is willing to invest in me? Self. And so this 5B is about really having that talk with yourself. And if talking to yourself in a loving voice is hard, because sometimes it is at first, pretend like you're talking to someone else. If this had happened and this was my daughter, and I now understood all of the facts that were pulled out of this situation, what would I say to her? Would I start with judgment? I know what that feels like. It might be true, but it sure ain't helpful sometimes. How would I speak to her? And it's saying, I'm going to speak to myself in that way. And so 5B is an important piece. It's that piece that hopefully in your growth process, you can come back to and remind yourself of some of your own commitments. How did it work out when you were living that value before? How many situations was that value coming up where you put your defenses up, didn't say what you really meant and felt, and then went home and you was aggravated and resentful with someone else because you didn't speak up? How'd that feel for you? What did that cost you? Ooh, that's what it cost me then. I don't think I want to pay that price again this time. Let me just tell them what I feel. I'm gonna hope it's loving. It's gonna be the best love I can get, and maybe it'll get better. But I'm gonna be honest, because if I'm not honest, I get trauma. If I'm honest and I hear myself and it's not loving, I know I still got some issues I need to work on. Because when I take this garbage off my mirror, what's supposed to be there is that reflection of the divine, the reflection of love. And so it's saying, what would that look like for real? For real, in real life, what would that look like? And so 5B really is your lesson to yourself. It's your reminder when you need to come back to it. It's some new commitments to yourself. What new covenants with you are you making? It's some new recognition of letting go. It's the memorial of those values you're going to let go and bury because they ain't working for you. All of that is your 5B. Ain't no format, is yours. You're speaking to you in the way that you need to be spoken to. And hopefully you realize that you need to speak to you in love. So that's the 5B. And we do that over and over again, one manageable layer at a time. What many of you may have figured out already is that you go start with one and some other situations come up. That's why your journal in your book has got multiple pages. Put a title, decide when you want to come back to it. You remove one layer, and now these others got space to heal because you've lifted what was holding them down. Start getting the layers off and see if some others don't now come for you to be able to do. And this process, you do it over and over. Because every layer deserves healing. Some layers you can't get to till you get some on the surface off. If you think of that jar and it's got boulders down in there, but there's pebbles on top of it and sand packed in and water, sometimes you try to get to those boulders, and first you got to displace some of the water, some of the sand, some of the pebbles to get down to some of those boulders. My strategy, because my work is geared for working the quickest, fastest way in crisis, go for the big boulders first. When we go to the spa, it's like the plunge in that cold water. And I tell folks 10 seconds to acclimate. Count backwards from 10 to 0. And by the time you get to 0, if you've done the submersion, if you've done the plunge, it'll acclimate you. Is it still cold? Yeah. But I tell you something, you stay there a little while and that cold wears off. Your body stops sensing the shock. And there's nothing wrong with tippy toeing, but it'll take you a long time to get deep if you tippy toe. Think of the ocean. You tippy toe, and every time that water splash on you and you run back, and then you tippy toe, and then you run back, this work is geared for the deep dive. It's saying do it. It's shocking like that cold water, but I promise you, you'll acclimate 10 cycles. Give yourself 30 cycles and see if you don't acclimate. And so it's a challenge. It's a challenge to do the work and to have better tools for the journey. But it's a challenge to say, what if I woke up tomorrow and I was living on purpose? What I was called to do, I stopped making excuses and I just did it. And the reality is that's what we're offered. In spiritual principles, it says that's the life that you're going to be supported. God and the whole universe will support that life. One of the books that I enjoy, The Alchemist, says the universe will conspire. On my birthday trip, that book starts with him going to the port of Tangier. On my birthday trip, that was the last big city that I stayed in. And I stood looking over the port of Tangier. This man had crossed the Strait of Gibraltar to start a new life on the quest for his purpose. And that's us. That's healing. It's the bridge. It's the welcome center when you get on the other side of the bridge. It's the way stations to help you along the way. And part of the work is we want to build those around the world. The Soul Safari, the Healing Vacation Retreat that'll be taking place in November in Kenya, is with another shifter. We're building another international welcome center in Kenya, another way station, a healing space for individuals that may be on that side of the global playground. So if anybody's interested in that, let us know. We have 13 spaces. We'll be working with leaders from Uganda, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Kenya. There'll be 13 other participants that will be from those African nations that are leaders and working with the youth on the African continent and abroad. And so it'll be a really nice opportunity to be able to heal together with individuals from the diaspora as well as our brothers and sisters on the African continent. And I'm excited about that thing. I'm excited about the leaders that I'm working with who are already doing this same training in preparation, because how are you going to tell them they need it and you haven't gotten it for you? That's one of the principles and values that is non-negotiable. You can't work with us and help folk heal if you ain't willing to heal yourself, because that just doesn't feel honest to me. So if you're interested in that, there's information on the websites. You can go to nowasted.com. If you haven't gotten your copy of the book, it will still be available after this 30-day challenge. If you get that after that and you want to go back through it and set the timer, have a little motivation each morning, the videos will be there. You can take yourself on a self-paced journey through the healing challenge. The digital copies are available on the website, nowastedtime.com, or Global Underground Railroad. That's the website for the International Welcome Center. If you want to find out more about what we do, the opportunities for you to connect in residency here, some of our training programs are there. Everything from the 1-week healing vacation retreat to our respite stays to our leadership training. Several of the other modules, if you have an interest in the housing aspect, we teach people how to create the umbrella houses, the healing house model, but also the way stations and guest house models that work to create healing spaces on this global network. We want to partner with people who feel like that part, the housing of people, creating the safe places for housing, is part of their purpose. And so we teach you how to do that. We pull from the experience. We used the umbrella house model of sustainable housing, healing first housing, and we did a 3-year pilot program with just amazing results. I'm very proud of the work that came out of that. So we teach people about that modality for those that are interested in the housing aspect, the commerce pieces. So feel free to reach out. All right, I have done enough talking this morning. Sarah B. saw you come in. Danielle saw you come in. Thank you for joining. Feeling hopeful. Excellent. If you haven't shared how you're feeling today, put that in there. We are on day number 28 of our 30-day challenge. Thank you for joining and holding this space for us. I'm going to stop talking and we're going to go into quiet co working space. Um, have a great day. Have a great start to your week. Thank you for letting me share with you each day in whatever way comes to my heart. Um, some things are scripted. A whole lot of my life is not. So I got to get up and feel what I feel this morning. What do I feel like sharing with them this morning? So y'all get what I got. You get what I got. So I try to give you guys from the goodness of my day, not from the exhaustion of it. Not my mind be on it first thing in the morning. So um, some days we go on the rabbit trail. Other days I'm a little more focused. But thank you for letting me share with you. This is work I'm passionate about. Not only because I want community to heal, but because I needed healing. When I realized and finally accepted I am community, the part of it that I can absolutely change, um, it had to work. Solutions ain't real unless they work. And so this is something that in my life personally, um, and I share some of that, some of the older books. The book that I did, first book of retirement, was the hashtag uncovered book. And it was about being able to voice my truth. That's one of the chapters of my healing, probably the most recent deep dive into healing, dealing with some of my early childhood traumas. Um, but for anyone that reads it, that's familiar now with the steps, they say, how do you still have a smile? I do the steps. I do exactly what I'm sharing with you guys. No, you must have done something else. No, I did it by myself. That's what something else I did. I did it by myself, you know. Um, but it'll be very familiar. No, these are the steps. Step one, step two, and being able to get to the step 5B in my life. And so this is the same process I use for how I live my life. And it has given me healing and a freedom that I didn't even know was possible. And for that, I'm grateful. So I hope that it creates value for you in your life. Trust the process. Thank you. Thank you, Kimberly. Kind words. All right. That's it. That's it. I ain't saying no more. I'm going into quiet mode. I'm going to put the microphone on mute and put the little picture up and go back to my crocheting. I got a blanket to finish. Grandma blanket is on it. She got till the 6th of June to get this blanket done. So I'm on it. I'm on it. I'm stay focused. Have a great day, everyone.